Hello, knitters! Welcome to episode 182 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I'm your host, Devin Ventry. You can find me at KnittyMcPurly.com. I am Knitty McPurly on Instagram, and if you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. All that stuff is linked below. If I said it too fast, please thumbs up this video and subscribe. I know I've got new watchers. Hit the subscribe button because that lets YouTube know that my video is good. So, welcome. Happy Saturday. I am drinking coffee out of my Texas mug today. I can't do Southern accents. I can't like distinguish different Southern accents. So there's just a generic one that I do. This is like my afternoon cup of coffee. This is like my sinking spell cup of coffee. That's where we are in the day right now. I just got back from Ohio late last night with my daughter. We were there for 2 days at Franciscan, and we had a great time. It was a great trip, but I'm glad to be home. And the podcast might be cut a wee bit short today because my family needs to eat, and I think I need to grocery shop before they starve to death, which is not really likely. They're all right, but I do need to grocery shop. I want to say thank you, a huge thank you to Shelly. Shelly wrote me the sweetest note. Listen to this note. Look at this. This is a hug. She sent me a hug, and she said, Devin, although we have never met, you share your family, your generous spirit, and your creativity and so authentically every week that it feels like we are already friends. I am a Hoosier at heart, but am living in the crazy something. I don't know what this word. Oh, Bay Area, the crazy Bay Area in California. I couldn't decide which mug to send, so you get two. Thank you so much for being a kind and thoughtful business owner, podcaster, knitter, and I just know friend. Thank you so much, Shelly. That was so nice. So Shelly sent me a California mug. Look at that. They made California seem a little shorter and fatter than I think of it. I think of it as being longer and skinnier. But yeah, it's got all the stuff on it. Surfers, Death Valley, the Sierra Nevadas, the Bay Bridge, Redwoods. Thank you so much, Shelly. And then she also sent me this Indiana cup. Indy 500, Terre Haute, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, Muncie. So you can kind of see the outline of the state there. And this is cool. I don't have one like this yet. The state mug thing it's just such a weird thing, but I love it. I love the states themselves and the individuality that they have. It was so cool to be in Ohio for the past 2 days. It was emotional for me to see because Steubenville is where my dad's family is from. And I went to college there. My daughter's going to college there, but we have a long history there. And to see the economic depression in that area, that was really hard to see. And anyway, I love the states. And thank you so much, Shelly. And to those of you who've sent me state mugs, I love them. I need like a display. Somehow I need to display these mugs. I'm afraid that they're going to get broken if they're in regular use, although I do love them, like Texas here. I love this one. I don't even know where you guys find these things. Every state has just something cool. We also had Worldwide Knit in Public Day last weekend, and I met some of you, Lori and Rachel and Yvonne and Melissa over at the winery, and it was great fun. I know poor Melissa drove so far to get there, but I think it was a really fun day. We had a really good time. It was gorgeous weather. It was like 75, sunny, no humidity, and we got a seat in the shade, and it was just perfect. I hope you were able to knit in public. I got a comment that said Worldwide Knit in Public Day is the second Saturday of June. Who sets these things? I have no idea. Can I just declare a day? Like, what do I have to do to get a day? I don't know. But apparently it's the second Saturday in June. Okay, progress and shop news. So I did finish my summer vibe top. And the reason I'm not wearing it today, I could make up a reason, but the real reason that I'm not wearing it today is that I ate everything in sight on my trip to Ohio. And my husband was like, oh, so you had a couple of bulking days. I was like, yeah, well, I'm gonna start cutting now. But I'm planning on wearing it next weekend. But it came out so good. This top is so great. I basically whip stitched it from the inside, just a little on both sides, not even very much, but I think it looks really good. And I did the same thing along the seam. I just whip stitched it from the inside out, whip stitch, and that was it. But mine is fitted, and so I would like to feel slimmer when I wear it, and then I will feel good about myself in it and not like I'm wearing a shirt that doesn't fit. But I do want to show you these beautiful summer vibe tops by podcast watchers and friends of the podcast using the Knitty McPurly kits. This is Mona. She did such a good job on hers. And this is Emily. They just did such a good job. They look so good. We all need to get together and wear them and take a picture. That sounds unrealistic because Mona lives in Minnesota and Emily lives in Cincinnati and I live here. So anyway, if you bought the kit and you finished the top or you didn't finish the top, whatever, this is a judgment-free zone. You are allowed to let any project languish at any time. If you did finish, today's the 15th, you've got until the 21st or 20th, I can't remember what the first, I think it's the 20th is the first day of summer, to finish to enter the Knitalong. You can use hashtag KMP Summer Vibe Cal on Instagram, or you can email me. If you do, put the hashtag or something along those lines in the subject line so that I see it. And there will be a prize at the end for someone who finished. It will be a Knitty McPurly gift card because that is super easy. And who doesn't love a gift card? No one. Everyone loves a gift card. But I love this yarn base. Fiji fingering is 50% Pima cotton and 50% merino wool. And in my humble opinion, it is the best combination for summer because 100% cotton, while it is cool, it's a bit crunchy. And if you blend cotton with linen, that's nice too. I like that too. It's also cool, but it's all plant fiber. But when you blend it with wool, it is soft, but light and breathable, and it is just so cool. So I really wanted to make something with my leftovers. And last week, I just threw up a couple of pictures and was like, I'm not sure which of these I'm gonna do. And I think later that day, I cast on for the Jupiter crop. And clearly, I hate it because I've gotten this far. Now, maybe for you, this is not all that far, but for me, this is pretty good. Even I did some work in the car because my daughter drove for most of it, but not too much. So that's the short rows in the back of the neck there, I think. Is that right? Yeah, where it's a little bit bigger, a little bit longer there. So I am doing my main kind of background color. In Caitlin's sweater, it's like a dark gray, I think. I'm using River Rock and Frost and Fontaine and Trinket and then Dusty here. Now, this part is a little bit unmotivating because there's not a lot of contrast between the Dusty and the River Rock. Like they are very similar. And I love them together, but at the same time, it's not as much fun as it was to knit with more contrast. So we talked last time about adjusting a pattern for a different yarn choice or a different gauge or changing it. And I talked right brain, left brain, and I feel like the one that I picked is kind of right down the middle, where Now for this, here's what I did. I basically I didn't even swatch. I just used the gauge that I normally get with a US 3 needle and the Fiji fingering, because this sweater is written for a sport weight yarn and the prescribed needle is a US 5. So I was gonna go down 2 needle sizes and a thinner yarn weight. So I used the gauge that I normally get and I figured out how many stitches I was going to need around the bust. Around the bust is the best place to determine, because if you get your bust size right, chances are everything else is gonna fit just fine. Also, this is a top-down sweater. So I didn't do a ton of math. I just found out, did I write it down? Can't remember if I did. I can't remember where I wrote it down, but I found out that I was gonna need approximately some amount of stitches. And I looked at the sizes to see what size had about that many stitches. And there were 2, like it was one that was below, one that was above, just like we talked about last week with the Audrey sweater. And I ended up going with the 5th size of the sweater. So I went, it worked out the same. I'm not saying it'll always work out this way, but it worked out the same as the math that we did last week for the Audrey sweater, where I'm going down 1 level of yarn from sport to fingering weight. Last time we talked about worsted to DK, and I'm going down 2 needle sizes and up 2 pattern sizes. Because I would normally, if I were using a sport weight, I think I would have knit the 3rd size to get a 38.5 inch circumference around the bust of the sweater. That felt good to me. So, but I also thought, you know, I'm willing to just wing it and then try it on and see if I like it. So where I am now, I have 1 more yoke increase to do, but I thought it feels like a lot of stitches. So I put a bunch of the stitches on waste yarn and I put it on and I loved the fit. I thought this is perfect. If I do 1 more increase, it's gonna be too big. So let me just show you. In the pattern, I don't wanna show too much of it. It's a little bit awkwardly folded up. So this is the stitch pattern after the increase. So essentially I am not gonna have that row. So what I'm gonna have is this white thing separated. Well, I think this is the frost. This will be the frost and the river rock with the river rock separation, and then these 2 will touch each other here. But I think it's gonna be fine. I just don't want that extra increase, and I think you're gonna look at it and think that that's just how it was supposed to be. I'm going with it. The other changes that I want to make to the sweater is I'm not gonna knit the sleeves. The Jupiter crop has like not an elbow sleeve where it ends like at the elbow, but just above the elbow sleeve. And that's a great sleeve, especially if you want to cover up your upper arms. A lot of people love upper arm coverage. I, however, am going for coolness. I want to be not hot. I want something I can wear in the summer, you know, around and not feel like I'm too hot. So what I'm gonna do is after I divide for the sleeves, I'm just gonna do a cuff like I did for the wildflower tee or the Faucette crop. They both just have a cuff after you divide for the sleeves. And everything else, I'm gonna just go for it. I don't think I'm gonna have enough of the river rock because I didn't, you know, I've messed with so many things that I'm not exactly sure, but I'm also not too picky about it. If I have to change color, I might change color, or I might get another skein of river rock. We'll see. But it's gonna be great. I am really excited to see what you guys do with your leftovers. I talked to some of you about it, and I know some of you are interested in making socks, which sounds great. I'm not sure how that would wear. I feel like they would probably wear pretty well, and they would be a little bit cooler. So, okay, here is everybody's favorite segment, Crocheting with Gigi. Hello, ladies. Welcome to, I don't want to say ladies. Hello, knitters. Welcome to knitting. I think we should call this knitting with Gigi.
I feel like, yeah.
This is like crafting with Gigi, but knitting.
Crafting sounds weird.
Does it?
I don't know. I don't like it. It's not as good.
Is it too like quilting?
Mm-hmm. It's too, I'm 95 and I've been quilting for 84 years.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, but you know.
But you're 14 and you're knitting and you're cool.
Oh.
No.
All right. So I have all the pieces together for the jacket.
You do?
Yeah, so I've got the back. Okay, can you put your thing down so you can like hold them gradually?
It matches.
Oh, yay.
Mine's Texas though.
Well, Texas and Ferraris both patriotic?
Are awesome.
Are awesome. Darn right they are.
So, okay, let's just refresh the knitter's memories. This is the Debbie Bliss baseball jacket, right?
Yep, but no one likes baseball and everyone likes Ferraris. So
by no one and everyone, she means not her and her. You like Ferraris.
Everyone likes Ferraris.
Okay.
Who has ever looked at a cool old Ferrari and been like, eh? Nobody. Nobody has.
Nobody has.
Okay, so this is the one of the fronts.
Okay, so we have, all right, so we got the
And
back.
we got the other front. It's a lot of
pieces.
It's a lot of pieces, which I feel like I could have knit this in one, but you know.
Yeah,
and then the sleeves, which are supposed to be the black and white reversed.
Oh, but I love it. You're gonna notice it more because the white is
know,
like this.
and then we've got the Ferrari patches that come from France that are still not here.
I ordered them like a month ago.
It was longer than that. It was like 2 months ago. And so they're gonna go right here on the sleeves. They're just gonna be like right here.
Arrive. Hopefully they're not lost on a boat.
I know.
In the middle of the Atlantic.
Yep.
And also we're going to use duplicate stitch to put Ferrari across the back. Is that the plan?
I was gonna put it on the front.
Oh.
Because that's the way it is on the jacket.
I'll have to look at it. I don't know what it looks like. Here, I'll put a picture up here. This is the vibe that you're going for baby jacket, Ferrari baby jacket.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Because, you know, I mean, boys already have a tendency to like cars, but in case he doesn't,
now he'll have to. He's due in like 2 months.
I know.
What's his due date? August?
Something 13th or 15th.
Middle of, I think you're right. I think it's the middle of August. Oh my gosh. That is like exactly 2 months because today is June 15th. Wow. Crazy. Well,
right.
Awesome.
Also, I've been packing up orders, so yours might say from Gigi.
She does such a good job.
So if it's wrong, you know who to blame.
None of them have been wrong. They've all been right.
Gosh. Or people are just too nice.
Don't be nice. Like, if it's wrong, tell us. We want to fix it.
Yeah.
But it won't be wrong because Gigi's amazing and does such a great job, which reminds me there's an order down there I need you to pack up.
Oh, okay. Is it like a big order with yarn or?
Yeah. I put it all together. You just have to pack it up.
Also, the people who get boxes, like the mini ones full of like the little stuff, you're welcome because I hate assembling boxes. They're the worst.
Yeah, well, the advent calendar too. Gigi is on advent calendar and it is a lot.
Yeah, so if you bought one, just know she sells them cheaper than anybody. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
So if you got one,
you got a good deal.
You got a good deal. And if you didn't, there are more years coming.
Yeah, we'll do it another time.
Yep.
All right, thanks Gigi.
Yep.
Woo! Okay, the comments section. Elizabeth JDY Knits says, thank you for breaking down how to do the math to change yarn weight. I am definitely not a mathematician and you made it easy to understand. Enjoy your days by the pool. Thank you so much for saying that, Elizabeth, because I am not a mathematician either. And I like to think that I explain math for people like me, not math people. If you are a math person, it probably makes your skin crawl a little bit, the way that I explain things, because I am not, this is just not, I'm the artist, okay? That's what I do. So all of the mathematicians out there, I apologize. I'm so sorry. Old or Cut Yarnery says, Devin, love the podcast and your topic of the week was so timely. I've got a knit along going in my shop right now, and many people had a tough time getting gauge, but loved the fabric they were getting. So I gave them all a formula to determine what size they should knit. Pattern gauge per inch times the pattern finished size equals the number of stitches divided by your gauge per inch equals your finished size. I would have to write that down and like work it out in several instances for my brain to fully understand it, but I'm just gonna go with it. This is what she says. I'll take it. She says, then they tested a couple other sizes, smaller in this instance, to see what size they should knit. As far as I can tell, that formula should work for just about any pattern and could be used for changing yarn weight, any instance where you're knitting off gauge. I love that. That's really good. I think I'm gonna have to try it just to get it in my mind to see if I can understand. But if you wanna read it again, that comment is at the bottom of episode 181, if you wanna like write it down or try it out. Thanks for a great episode. Can't wait to get your August color of the month sock sets for the shop. So excited. I have a couple of shops that are going to be stocking my color of the month, the Old Orcut Yarnery in California, and also the Cincinnati one. Emily is shouting it at the screen right now. I guess Hank's, something with Hank in it. I can't remember. Trisha123B says, good morning. Pennsylvania Dutch folk art birds are called distelfinks. After my last podcast, my mom just sent me a text that said, distelfink. I was like, yes, I knew it. And Trisha's the one who mentioned that the Worldwide Knit in Public Day is always the second Saturday in June in the US. So why is it Worldwide Knit in Public Day? Is there a different day in the rest of the world? This is so weird. Who determines this? I don't know. Gretchen said, Balshan is knitted top down. I started a while back and the construction is fairly easy. However, I did not like my yarn choice, so I ripped it out. But it is on my must-make list for sure. Wish I lived closer so I could join you for Knit in Public Day. That's interesting. All I've done with Balshan is just look at it, and I just don't know how it's constructed. I need to buy the pattern and I need to knit it because I love it. But right now I'm on summer knits. That's what I'm focused on right now. Knit by Pen said, this week I needed to pick up stitches on a baby vest that I'm knitting. I had changed the pattern so much that I could not trust the given number of stitches to pick up. Luckily, Patty Lyons has a video picking up the right amount of stitches. I gained complete confidence in how to do this despite what the pattern says. That is awesome. Patty Lyons, I'll link that video down below, picking up the right amount of stitches, because if you do change a pattern and you want to know how many to pick up, it would really depend on what you were doing. But let's say you're knitting a vest, so maybe around the armholes or around the neck. Yeah, those are two different things because one is like stitches and the other is like rows. Interesting, I'll have to check out that video. Julie says, Devin, I knit your Hepburn sweater and love it so much. It looks so amazing on me, a total classic. It makes me feel smart when I wear it. Thanks for designing such a beautiful sweater. Thank you so much, Julie. I love the Hepburn too. It's one of those sweaters that is miles and miles of stockinette, but you wear it all the time and it looks good with everything. I knit mine in a neutral color and mine has the turtleneck, but you can omit the turtleneck easily. And it lays really nicely and it has such a good hem. And I agree, I think it's a classic too. Lori says, I just got an order delivered today, and when I opened it and saw Gigi's signature on the packing slip, it made me smile. Great job, Gigi. Devin and Julie Brown. Julie, it's Lori and Parker. I made my first sweater and Audrey in April. I too wanted to use DK, so I found a YouTube video to tell me how. I used a light DK held with a mohair, and I liked the fabric I got with a size 6 needle. So I used the needle sizes 4, 5, and 6 so that the fabric that she liked is the main gauge for the sweater, because the Audrey changes needle size to change the tightness of the knitting as you go down from the top. And she knitted a size 5, even though I measured a size 2. I was thinking the neckline would be too long and wondered if I should have cast on more stitches, and only did the rows required for a size 2, but I winged it and it blocked out nicely. I'm very happy with it, and I will send you a photo of me wearing it in the wild. So here's the picture. I actually have that in the wild section, but since this is her comment, look how gorgeous this sweater looks and how beautiful Lori looks in it. That's such a great idea. Now she says she used a light DK and a mohair. So, I'm not sure exactly what that would work out to be. Probably like a light worsted. So it seems like did have to do a little bit of finagling to get it to work because the pattern is written for a worsted weight. But if you wanted to use a regular DK and a mohair, that's a worsted. I would lean right into that. And I think that's a great combination for this sweater. It just looks so classy. Karen Red Baron says, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the right gauge for picking up stitches. I finally landed on, and I'm guessing she's talking about rows, like if you're picking up a button band. I finally landed on pick up 3, skip 1 row, pick up 2, skip 1 for a perpendicular pickup. So like a button band. So pick up 3, skip 1, pick up 2, skip 1. Yeah, I would typically do pick up 2, skip 1, and just repeat that. But that's interesting that she added 1 more. She says, this always seems to work for me really well. I don't worry how many stitches there are supposed to be. I just get it done. And then in the next row, if I need to, I can do some M1 or knit 2 togethers. Yes, this is a helpful tip if you are a newer knitter. If you make a mistake, like for example, in the Jupiter crop, there are times when I would find, for whatever reason, there is a stitch missing. Like there's supposed to be 3 River Rock stitches here and there's only 2. So just add 1 in. If you don't have the right number of stitches, make it the right number. That is a very easy way to fix a mistake. It's a little ghetto, but I'm okay with it. If you're okay with a little bit of ghetto in your life, then just make your stitch count right. My friend Lisa, who taught me how to knit 13 years ago, said she told me that, and I have always done that. Just make it the right number. You can rip back and fix it and make it perfect. And if that is where your happy place is, then by all means do that. But I just make it the right number and I don't worry about it. Okay, in the wild. Oh my gosh, I just realized that I have already shared all these pictures. There's Lori's Audrey, Mona's Summer Vibe, Emily's Summer Vibe. I do have this beautiful picture. Okay, this sweater is from Shelly, and she is knitting the Mayberry cardigan in Dusty DK. I don't know this cardigan. I'm gonna find it and put a picture up after this so that you can see it. But it just looks, her knitting just looks so beautiful. I love Dusty. It just looks amazing. And this is a really interesting construction because it follows along what we talked about a couple weeks ago, where you knit the button band as you are working the actual sweater. You don't have to go back and pick it up later. Okay, moving right along to knitting fantasies. Now, since my family needs to eat, I only have 1 knitting fantasy for you today. This is the Halcyon Summer Sweater by ESNQ Knit over on Etsy. And this sweater is really, really pretty. It's a total open weave. You would wear something under it. It's got long sleeves. It is knit in pieces and you sew it up. If you go look at it on Etsy, there's a little video where she just very quickly shows you how it goes together. Looks super simple. She says it's good for an advanced beginner, somebody who this is not your first sweater, you know a few things, and it would be good for that kind of knitter and beyond. Now, she says that the yarn, it comes in 7 sizes, and the yarn she used is Drops Paris, which is 100% cotton. So I don't know what weight of yarn that is. I would have to Google it. I don't know why people leave yarn weight off of a pattern, because if I don't want to use that yarn, then I need to get a different yarn and I will need to know the weight. So again, 100% cotton is not my favorite. There's not enough give in it, and for me, my hands will hurt if I knit with it. And I don't love how it's a little crunchy. I would probably want to find something that's a cotton blend, either cotton and linen or cotton and wool. We won't get into wool and linen again. We have put that issue to bed, I feel like. Okay. Moving right along to, so here's what happened. This story for this week is, it is so, so good. This story comes from Sherry from Florida. Hi, Sherry. And Sherry always writes me the most wonderful emails. And in my mind, I'm composing a reply, but she has put so much like love and effort into the email that I have to reply with an equal amount of love and effort. And so it usually takes me a month or two. I am so sorry about that, Sherry. I love your story for so many reasons. This is an amazing story. Say a little prayer for Sherry. Her husband, whose name is Dan, is having some health problems, and I know that she would appreciate your prayers. All right. This story is called To Knit on the Beach or Not, or How I Became Known as the Scandinavian Sock Knitter. Sherry is the best. She should write a book. Have you been to Hobby Lobby lately? I went a couple of weeks ago. I saw that they had put the pumpkins out, and you know what that means. It means that Easter has just passed, Memorial Day is upon us, and summer is off to a bang. And that means all knitters have a momentous decision to make. While putting away their woolly yarns and pulling out their linen, silk, and cotton fibers from their stash, knitters begin to grapple with that age-old question that only knitters ask themselves: to knit or not to knit at the beach this summer? A lot has been said on the subject from both sides. I can hear some of you now saying that you don't want sand in your knitting bag, you don't want sunblock getting smeared on your yarn, you don't want to count or read or even think, you just want to lie on the sand and go to sleep. Others, either more adventurous types or just die-hard knitters, say they can put their yarn in a Ziploc bag, sit under an umbrella, wear a hat and a long sleeve shirt, and go without sunblock and knit the socks that they have memorized the pattern for. And anyway, who can sit still for hours on end? Now, this is my favorite part. We know which side Devin is on. Since a while back, we saw the video of her sleeping on the beach with no knitting in sight. That video of her, eyes closed, mouth open, got me to thinking about this subject and my own struggles with this issue. I don't remember that. Did I show you? Like, that's like me having like a moment of humility where I'm like, I'm gonna show this picture of me sleeping with my mouth open. Oh gosh. You know I love you guys. She says, well, whichever side of this question you land on, I hope you will listen to this little story of mine and then make your decision. I had a life-changing event at the beach, and all because I was knitting a pair of socks. That was the day that I became known as the Scandinavian sock knitter. Would you like to hear about it? Okay, so here's what happened. Years ago, we were living in Atlanta. It had been a long, busy summer. You notice I didn't say long, hot summer for obvious reasons, even though it was. And my husband and I were anxious to get to a beach for a few days of R&R before fall arrived. So about mid-September, we took off, just the two of us, for a quick trip to Daytona Beach, Florida. The beach is deserted at that time of year, and hotels and pools are not crowded, so it's a great time to go if you don't have children in school. We went to our favorite hotel. It was one of the older ones, but I adore it because it is still decorated in mid-century modern furniture and had a great 60s color scheme of turquoise blue and lime green. Oh my gosh, I want to go there. It also had the biggest, deepest pool on the beach. Between the pool and the seawall was a wide expanse of lovely, soft, thick green grass. Past the seawall were the beach and the ocean. Our first morning there, we went out to the beach area and got comfortable on two chaises we chose from the line that had been set out that morning. I happily pulled out my knitting. I had the yarn in a plastic bag down in my beach bag, so there was no danger of it getting sandy or wet. I had applied my sunscreen before going down to the beach and had washed the excess off my hands, so there was no danger of it getting on my yarn. I was knitting a sock that I had memorized the pattern to many summers ago, so I didn't have to read anything. Oh, okay. I barely had to even think, as this was a vanilla sock pattern, and the yarn was one of those that effortlessly makes your sock look like Fair Isle knitting. I was a very happy knitter. I was with my favorite person at my favorite spot in the world, doing one of the things I liked most in life. I sighed a long, contented sigh and thought life was very good. At some point, my husband left me to go up to the room to make some business calls. A short time later, I became aware of someone watching me. You know that creepy, crawly feeling when you can just feel someone's eyes on you? I looked up and saw an older man about 12 feet away. He had been staring at the ocean all morning, but now he had turned aside and was watching me intently. Ordinarily, this kind of scrutiny would have made me very uncomfortable and caused me to leave. However, this was obviously an elderly man, and he had a look about him. The way that he stood and held himself, I could see that he was a gentleman and did not mean any disrespect. Once he saw that I had noticed, he came towards me. I had just enough time to slip on my cover-up and set my knitting aside. He stood about 6 feet away and told me that he had noticed me knitting. He then went on to explain that his mother used to knit socks for him just like the one that I was making. Seeing me knitting something so familiar brought happy memories back to him. After introducing himself, he went on to explain that he was from Sweden, which I had guessed from his accent. I then told him that my husband works for a Swedish company that had gone global. He asked me the name of the company, which then I told him. He was very surprised and delighted to tell me that many years ago, he had started that company himself. Well, this was a real coincidence. He said he would very much like to meet my husband, and would we care to join him and his wife for breakfast in the hotel restaurant tomorrow? I said yes, and he left me to join his wife inside. I was excited to tell my husband all about it when he came back down. He, on the other hand, was not excited, but clearly suspicious. Absolutely. That's a total man thing. My husband would have said the exact same thing. What? That is ridiculous, right? Just wait. He was wondering if the man was a pervert or a scam artist. So when we went back to our room, he did what anyone would do since about the year 2000. He looked him up on the internet. And indeed, my sock admirer was just as represented, but he had left out a lot of interesting things about his life. He was a pilot in World War II, having volunteered in Canada in the Royal Canadian Air Force. He was a decorated and celebrated war hero for his bravery and service. He had started the company my husband worked for and had started several more. He was also an executive board member for many more companies. We did meet him the next morning for breakfast. He spoke little of himself, but instead was very interested in my husband. He wanted to hear all about his job and about the company that he had started so long ago but was no longer a part of. He spoke to me also about his childhood in Sweden, his mother, and how she would always make him Fair Isle socks. He was very impressed that I was knitting socks, and Fair Isle at that. I didn't have the heart to tell him that the yarn was doing all the work for me, but instead thanked him for his compliments. He told us he and his wife would be checking out that morning. We were sorry we wouldn't be able to spend more time with him and learn more about what he did during the war. We exchanged contact information, and he excused himself to go back to his wife, who was not well. We really had no expectation that we would ever hear from him again. Some time after that, my husband was caught up in a huge corporate layoff. This was during the financial crisis of 2008, and every company seemed to be cutting back staff. Our friend from the beach would call occasionally and give advice and encouragement. He also included my husband in several high-level meetings among owners, CEOs, and management of companies that he was a part of. My husband told me he wasn't sure what he was doing at these meetings, but I think it was our new friend's way of helping my husband network. It wasn't long before my husband had another great job in his chosen field and life went on as it had before. Through the years, every time he came through town, he would call my husband. He would always ask him, "How's the Scandinavian sock knitter?" He was one of the nicest people we had ever met. He was one of those people who had done so much with their life, and even into his 80s, he was still an active board member on many companies, was still traveling, and was still a mover and a shaker, as they say. But he always made time to see us, take us out to eat, or at least call. It was at one of those dinners that I presented him with a hand-knit pair of socks, exactly like the ones I was knitting when we met. He absolutely loved them and was very deeply touched. He has passed away now. We still count ourselves richer for having known him, and we miss him still. And just think, it all happened because I was knitting a pair of socks at the beach. What an amazing story. And true to form, Sherry has written it so beautifully. Like, that is such a crazy story. And you know, we could say, you know, knitting has brought people together, but also God has brought people together. God, knitting, all these wonderful good things that led this man to be a part of your life. What a great story, Sherry. Thank you so much for sharing it. If you have a knitting story, email it to me, Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. I would love to share it on the podcast. I'm off to grocery shop. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see you next week. Bye, knitters.